Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. This one is focused on the best champions to use for grinding out health potions in Realm of Legends. Let's face it, not everybody wants to spend their units on health potions. More times out of 10, you'll find yourself utilizing the 40% revive. But do you want to get more health potions? Do you want to get a champion up to full health? Well, in some cases, yes. Especially going up against difficult content, you want to have as much health as possible. And do you want that for free? Of course. And that's by repeating Realm of Legends in order to get health potions, is utilizing yourself and your noggin to a T. And yes, indeed, this is why we do it, in order to get something from this. It's not always guaranteed, so it is a chance that you might not get anything. But there are going to be two methods, whether or not you go through number one, the full extent of Realm of Legends, or it's just repeating Winter Soldier. So what we're going to do in a moment is just go through the many champions that I used and the time frames that it took, and also the amount of hits. Do bear in mind, depending if you have a higher starage rating of any given champion or a lower, times and the amount of hits will vary. Also, it will vary in the extent of suicide masteries used. I've got a very standard build at the moment, but you can opt for having a suicide mastery to increase your damage output. Now, I couldn't cover every single champion, especially because that's a lot of data, so I stuck it down to 5 key champions, but also there's an incredibly huge amount of honorable mentions. For example, Sabretooth, going from battle to battle, drawing and improving the amount of furies the champion gets, and also got Medusa. Medusa's another great champion. Aegon's amazing, especially considering if you're doing the extent of Realm of Legends. But there are so many champions. Gamora, Sentinel. But the fact is, we want to make this as quickly as possible. So, these are the champions that I found to be the best. Okay, got 3 more honorable mentions to mention. Blade, first off, great champion, but did fall short as a 4-star. 419 hits for 6 minutes. It wasn't great in taking down Winter Soldier. My 5-star Guillotine was able to do 219 hits, took down Winter Soldier in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. But I must say, this particular footage was recorded prior to me having my first coffee, and the concept of being awake just eluded me a little bit more. So could I get that done in a little bit lesser time, maybe less hits? Possibly. It's still a decent champion, and you know, if you've got a higher rank, maybe even higher starage, the same thing would apply. And the same thing goes for Blade earlier. Cap Infinity War was kind of the same circumstance. I was rocking full synergies, including Nick Fury, but it was 345 hits for 6 minutes of play. Not particularly great, but again, let me reiterate, as I will do constantly throughout this video, if you have suicide masteries, yes, your damage output is going to be greater. If you have a higher starage rating, yes, your damage output, and so therefore your time to take down the enemy is going to be shorter. Less hits, less time to grind. So yeah, before we go into the top 5, just to mention the fact that if you have a specific champion and you've tested out the extent of hit and low amount of minutes to then get champions done and dusted, and they damage output a huge amount, that's going to be great. If you've got suicides, that's going to be great. Your damage output is going to be so much that you'll be able to take down the enemy quicker, which is the concept of the video and the idea of today. Okay, so what are my top 5 picks? Starting off with Ghost. Now, what I decided to do is, like, I don't have a Ghost any higher, but I thought to myself, I want to speak to the man who can, and the man with a plan. So I spoke to Pandaman Pete and got the following information. So he said that he was able to rock with full suicides against Winter Soldier, 84 hits in a 1 minute 30 grind, which is incredibly impressive. So he's one of the seasoned players of Ghost, and was able to put some amazing damage in, and at the same time be able to quickly get rid of Winter Soldier, which is great for getting lots of health potions. Next up is Gamora. Now, one thing that I found difficulty with this, even though I absolutely love this champion, is refreshing that Fury and Cruelty buffs once on the enemy. But I was still managing to put out 169 hits for 3 minutes and 20, so that's still not too bad. I'm sure that I could get a lot lower than that, especially the fact if you're considering if the champion was indeed using suicide masteries, that would indeed go down. Archangel is up next, 100 hits, 2 minutes and 20. One thing that I did like with utilizing this champion, I think we all know, it's all about creating neurotoxin on the enemy. 9 times out of 10, I was hitting in constant stun, which was great. So I would go into a block stance, allow Winter Soldier to hit into my block, which obviously built up those poison debuffs. And then what I was doing was then performing a bleed, doing the heavy attack method. So parry, heavy attack, allowed to hit into my block, and then spamming more heavy attacks and putting in specials wherever I can. This isn't incredibly effective if you continue to go through the Realm of Legends, because there's champions that get poison immune. And yeah, you can spam heavy attacks for bleed, but the fact is, do you really want to do that? A lot of the times people will just look to just go to Winter Soldier once and only, and then just repeat that. Whereas the other champions, like we've said, Aegon, Sabretooth, etc., are able to go from battle to battle, building up either combos or furies, and being able to smash out the enemy. Domino is up next, and I used a combination of the heavy attack Incinerate synergy with Red Hulk in order to maximize the extent of damage. This is a 455. Now you can have this champion as suicide, and it will bring down the amount of time it takes to take down the enemy, but 100 hits, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. It could be a lot faster, especially the increased, if I put it up to 565, and I am considering to do that at a later point. I'm just really close to that, forming that last tier 5 basic that I really need, and I'm definitely doing it. But it is really exciting to see its champion damage output, and it seems like the Incinerate has been somewhat improved from the complaints of last, so it's still good to see that this champion has escaped nerfing several times. And final champion, and the one that's definitely the best for me at the moment, is Stark Spider, a champion that is all about building up poise charges, putting out a huge amount of crit. So yeah, that's really the method with this. 74 hits is the lowest I've managed to put out, and that was taking it below the 2-minute mark. So that's not too bad. It'd be interesting to see playing about with suicides in the future, but I'm very much off suicide masteries at the moment. Especially, I know that it's off season for wars, but I just don't really want to spend the units at the moment to kind of change them about. So yeah, I still love this character. I'm sure that a lot of players will have different thought processes on the best champions to use for getting those health potions from the grinding out of Realm of Legends. This is the point that I throw it over to you, and for the purpose of Realm of Legends and for grinding out those health potions, what are your go-to champions? What are your strongest champions you use? The starage rating, the rank, also the extent of hits that it takes to take down the enemies, who you're going up against, whether or not you're going up against just Winter Soldier or you're going through the whole Realm of Legends. What is your data? Because then we can get an idea of some of those other champions that maybe I don't have at 565, I don't have at rank 2 as a 6-star, I don't have as a 6-star full stop, I don't even have as a 5-star full stop. It's good to get that information and then share that out within the community. So yes, thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe for more Marvel Contest of Champions based content. I've been RichTheMan. Catch you in the next one. Bye bye for now.